What if the love you feel is pure, but the world calls it wrong just because of age? What if two hearts chosen by God are judged by people instead? Is age really the problem, or is it how we misunderstand love? There was once a man, not young, not old, just at a different stage of life. And there was a woman, full of dreams, yet carrying a heart that understood love deeper than most her age. Their paths crossed not by chance, but in a quiet, unexpected way, the kind of meeting that feels ordinary to the world, but unforgettable to the soul. At first, they didn't notice the age gap. They noticed kindness. They noticed respect. They noticed how their conversations felt like home. But the world noticed something else. Too old. Too young. This isn't right. Voices grew louder, opinions heavier, until even their own hearts began to question what they once felt so clearly. One night, she asked him softly, "Do you think this is wrong? Does God see this as a sin?" He didn't answer immediately, because this wasn't just about love anymore, it was about truth. So they searched, not in people's opinions, but in God's word. And what they found changed everything. They realized the Bible never sets a specific age gap as a sin. It speaks about love, yes, but a different kind of love. A love that is patient. A love that is kind. A love that honors, protects, and does not harm. They read how marriage is meant to reflect commitment, faith, and mutual respect, not numbers. They saw that what God cares about is not how many years apart you are, but how you treat each other within those years. Are you leading each other closer to God, or further away? Are you building each other, or breaking each other? And in that moment, they understood something powerful. The problem was never their age difference. The problem was the fear placed on their love by others. Because love, when it is real, doesn't manipulate. It doesn't control. It doesn't take advantage. It nurtures. It protects. It grows under God's guidance. So they made a decision, not based on society, but on faith. They chose to love in a way that honored God. With purity in intention. With respect in action. With responsibility in every step. And suddenly, the noise of the world didn't matter anymore. Because they realized something most people never do. Not every unusual love is wrong. And not every accepted love is right. What matters is this. Is your love aligned with God's heart? Because in the end, it's not the number of years between two people that defines sin. It's the presence, or absence, of truth, respect, and righteousness within their love. And sometimes, the most misunderstood love stories are the ones closest to being real. Love does not begin where people approve it. It begins in places unseen, in moments unplanned, in hearts that recognize something deeper than logic. Society often tries to define love through rules, expectations, and timelines. It tells us when to love, who to love, and even how love should look. But true love, the kind that feels steady and real, does not ask society for permission before it enters a person's life. There are times when two souls connect in a way that cannot be explained by age, status, or background. It feels peaceful, not rushed. It feels safe, not forced. And yet, the world quickly steps in with its judgments, placing labels where there was once only purity. People begin to measure the relationship with their own understanding, forgetting that love is not something they created in the first place. God's design of love was never meant to be limited by human opinions. It was meant to reflect something far greater: patience, kindness, respect, and truth. When love carries these qualities, it begins to align with something divine, something beyond the surface-level thinking of society. It becomes less about what people see and more about what God knows. In many situations, people confuse discomfort with wrongdoing. Just because something looks unusual does not mean it is sinful. Society often reacts to what it does not understand, especially when love does not fit into its familiar patterns. But God does not look at relationships the way people do. He looks at the heart, at the intentions, at the way two individuals treat each other when no one else is watching. When love is chosen by God, it brings peace rather than confusion. It encourages growth rather than harm. It strengthens faith rather than weakens it. This kind of love does not rely on validation from others because its foundation is not built on approval, it is built on truth. There is a quiet strength in a love that knows it does not belong to the world's rules. It moves differently. It survives criticism. It remains gentle even when misunderstood. And in that quiet strength, it becomes clear that love, when guided by God, cannot be fully understood or controlled by society's expectations. There is a quiet but powerful difference between what culture says is right and what the Bible actually teaches. Culture changes with time. What is accepted today may be questioned tomorrow, and what was once rejected may later become normal. It is shaped by trends, emotions, and the collective opinions of people. But biblical truth does not shift with time or trends. It remains steady, rooted in principles that go deeper than outward appearances. In matters of love and marriage, culture often builds its own standards. It creates ideas about what a perfect relationship should look like: same age group, similar life stages, matching social expectations. When a relationship steps outside of those expectations, it becomes easy for people to judge it without truly understanding it. Age gap marriages often fall into this space, where the difference is seen before the depth is ever explored. But when we turn to the Bible, we do not find rules that focus on age differences as a measure of sin. Instead, we find guidance centered on the nature of the relationship itself. The Bible speaks about love that is patient, kind, and selfless. It speaks about commitment, faithfulness, and mutual respect. These are the standards that define whether something is right in the eyes of God, not the number of years between two individuals. Cultural judgment often reacts quickly. It looks at the surface and makes assumptions. It can be influenced by fear, misunderstanding, or even past experiences. People may project their own concerns onto a relationship, assuming harm where there may be none. In doing so, they create a narrative that may not reflect reality at all. Biblical truth, on the other hand, requires a deeper look. It asks questions that go beyond appearance. Is there genuine respect between the two people? Is the relationship built on honesty and care? Are both individuals growing in their faith and character? These are the questions that matter when understanding a relationship through a biblical lens. When someone begins to separate cultural noise from biblical truth, clarity starts to form. The pressure to conform to society's expectations becomes less overwhelming. Instead of seeking approval from people, the focus shifts to aligning with what is right in God's eyes. This shift brings a different kind of understanding, one that is not easily shaken by opinions or judgments, but grounded in something far more lasting and meaningful. Real love does not begin with numbers. It does not pause to calculate years or measure the distance between birthdays. Instead, it quietly looks deeper, into the heart of a person, into the way they think, speak, and treat others. Age may describe a stage of life, but it does not define the quality of a soul. Two people can be years apart in age, yet stand side by side in maturity, understanding, and emotional depth. Character reveals itself in the smallest moments. It shows in patience during difficult conversations, in kindness when one is tired, in honesty when the truth is not easy to say. These are the things that build a foundation strong enough to hold a relationship together. Without character, even the most socially perfect match can fall apart. With character, even an unconventional relationship can grow into something steady and meaningful. In many cases, people assume that age automatically brings wisdom, or that youth automatically brings immaturity. But life does not always follow that pattern. Some individuals learn deeply through their experiences, becoming gentle, thoughtful, and responsible regardless of how many years they have lived. Others may grow older without ever developing the emotional strength needed to love someone properly. When love is based on character, it begins to feel different. It feels safe rather than uncertain. It feels respectful rather than controlling. There is no need to prove worth through dominance or manipulation, because both individuals value each other for who they truly are. They listen, they understand, and they support each other in ways that go beyond surface-level attraction. Age, in this sense, becomes secondary. It fades into the background, while qualities like trust, loyalty, and compassion take its place. The connection becomes less about fitting into expectations and more about building something real. A relationship grounded in character does not rush to impress others, it focuses on growing stronger from within. People may still question what they see. They may still point out the difference in years, as if that alone explains everything. But what they cannot always see is the depth of understanding, the quiet respect, and the shared values that hold two hearts together. Because real love, the kind that endures, is never built on age, it is built on who a person chooses to be, every single day. Within the relationship, when people begin to question whether something is right or wrong in love, they often turn to what they have seen around them. Modern assumptions are shaped by society, by media, and by personal experiences. These assumptions create a picture of what relationships should look like, and anything outside of that picture can feel uncomfortable or even unacceptable. But when we look into the Bible, we find that many stories do not fit into today's expectations so neatly. The Bible presents relationships that were formed in very different cultural settings, where age, timing, and life circumstances did not always align with modern ideas. What stands out in these stories is not the exact structure of the relationship, but the purpose and the values within it. God worked through imperfect people, through unexpected unions, and through situations that may seem unusual by today's standards. For example, the story of Abraham and Sarah reflects a marriage shaped by faith, patience, and trust in God's promise. Their journey together was not defined by societal approval but by their shared visvasa in something greater than themselves. Their story reminds us that what matters most is not how others perceive a relationship, but how it aligns with God's purpose. In another moment, we see Boaz and Ruth, a relationship that grew out of kindness, protection, and integrity. Their union was not built on external expectations but on the way they treated each other with respect and honor. It showed that love can develop in unexpected ways when guided by righteousness and genuine care. These examples do not focus on numerical details like age differences. Instead, they emphasize character, faith, and intention. They show that God's involvement in a relationship is not based on how closely it matches human standards, but on whether it reflects truth, respect, and commitment. Modern assumptions often lead people to judge quickly, to decide based on what feels familiar or comfortable. But biblical examples invite a deeper reflection. They encourage us to look beyond surface-level differences and to consider the heart of a relationship. They challenge the idea that everything must fit into a fixed pattern, reminding us that God's ways often move beyond human expectations and limited understanding. A God-centered marriage is not defined by appearances, approval, or how perfectly it fits into society's expectations. It is defined by something far deeper, something that begins in the heart and reflects itself through actions over time. It is a union where two individuals are not just focused on each other, but are equally focused on honoring God within the relationship. In a God-centered marriage, love is not treated as a feeling that comes and goes. It is treated as a commitment, a daily choice to act with patience, kindness, and understanding. Even in moments of disagreement or weakness, the intention remains the same, to protect the bond rather than break it. This kind of love does not depend on circumstances being perfect, it grows stronger through challenges because it is rooted in faith. Respect becomes a central part of the relationship. Both individuals recognize each other's worth, not based on age, status, or external factors, but based on the value given by God. There is no need for control or dominance, because the relationship is guided by humility and mutual care. Each person learns to listen, to support, and to uplift the other, creating an environment where both can grow emotionally and spiritually. Trust also plays a vital role. A God-centered marriage encourages honesty, even when the truth is difficult. It removes the need for fear or hidden intentions, replacing them with openness and security. When trust is present, the relationship becomes a safe place, where both individuals can be themselves without fear of judgment or rejection. Faith acts as the foundation that holds everything together. It influences decisions, shapes values, and provides direction during uncertain times. Instead of relying solely on emotions or opinions, the relationship seeks guidance through prayer, reflection, and a desire to stay aligned with what is right. This shared faith creates unity, allowing both individuals to move forward with a sense of purpose. In such a marriage, age becomes less significant because the focus shifts toward how the relationship functions rather than how it appears. What truly matters is whether the love between two people reflects God's nature, whether it is patient, selfless, and enduring, whether it encourages growth, peace, and righteousness within both lives.